Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Project Management Professional PMP training video series. In this video, we will see that what is a project, what is project. We would like to define the project, and we will try to know that what is the difference between a project and a normal operation, how they are different from each other. So let's get started. PMI, which is the Project Management Institute, they defined project in the section 1.2.1 of PMBOK, 6th edition, page number 4. You will find this definition of project by PMI, that a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So what we get from this small definition, which is very brief and very to the point, that there are two main qualities. If something has these two main qualities, then we can say that okay, if this thing has these two main characteristics, then we can call it as a project. Number one is that it is undertaken as a temporary endeavor, which means that it must be temporary in nature. It should not be for the lifelong. It should not be forever. And the second thing is its output is a unique product, service, or result. So the output is unique in some way or the other. The output should not be exactly the same as some other output. So let's take it further, and let's first try to see that what temporary endeavor means. Temporary endeavor does not mean that this should be very short in lifespan. Some project may be very long as well. So project may be long-term projects or short-term projects. A project can be 1 month, 1 week, 1 hour, and a project may be 2 years, 5 years, 50 years. But generally, a project should be within some measurable time. I mean, a project may not be for 200 years or 500 years, so that we can at least measure that when this project starts and when this is going to finish. It should be a temporary endeavor, not an endeavor which is forever. And a project may be temporary, but not necessarily the outcome. For example, the inventions done by the inventors. For example, someone invented a bulb, and now the bulb is in production forever. So the bulb is forever, you can say, but the project which was taken by someone on himself and he invented a bulb, this project was not forever. The project has some limits, but the result may be very, very long term. So project may be short, but the outcome may be forever. For example, like we have seen these pyramids, which are there maybe from thousands of years, and they were made in some years, maybe 20, 30, 50 years. So if you compare the life of pyramid with the lifespan of the project, then you will feel that the project lifespan was very short. So project may be very short, but the outcome should be maybe for very long time. And one thing which is, you can say that, which is the main temporary endeavor, is the main meaning of temporary endeavor is that it must have a start and end date. It cannot run forever. So this is something which you can say, which is the main point of distributing between a project and something which is not a project, or which is operations. So let's see the other part, a unique output. But sometimes we see that the projects, they don't have a unique output. For example, if there is a project of making a building, but we are making buildings everywhere. In even one city, you can see 1,000 buildings being built. So it means that we are doing the same thing, but no, each building is a project. because unique does not mean that it should be unique in some way. It may be unique in any way. For example, a project may be a duplicate of a project but in a different region. Just I give for example that there is there is one Eiffel Tower in France, but China has also made a copy of this Eiffel Tower in China. So it is not the same Eiffel Tower. I mean, it's one Eiffel Tower is made in France and one Eiffel Tower is made in China. So it's a separate project, and even though it's almost the same, the output is almost the same. I mean, it may not be exactly the same, but it's almost the same. But because it's in different regions, so these are two different projects. Sometimes the project is exactly the same. There is no a single difference between two projects, but they are run by two different teams. So even this change will bring a change in the project, because a new team may be doing something in a different way. So even though the project is exactly the same, because the team is different, so this should be a different project, because maybe two persons in two countries may think about a same idea and they implement it at the same time. So, but they will be called two different projects because both of them did it without consultation with each other. So they are two different projects. Also, sometimes the project is almost the same or its project is exactly the same, but the requirement is a bit different. Like for example, there is a lot of lifts in different buildings, but for example, if there are two same lifts in the same building, but still one lift may be used by passengers and one lift may be used for the cargo. So putting each and every lift will be a different project, because even though the output is exactly the same, we provide a lift in a building, but every lift installation has its own issues, has its own team, has its own environment. Maybe one is in some different kind of environment, or the use is different. So that's why even some projects, they look very much similar to a kind of operation, but they are not operation, they are projects. Sometimes the projects are almost the same, but the procedures are different. For example, if you are doing something for a government office and you are doing the same thing for a private office or a private customer, so even though you are doing exactly the same thing for government and the same thing for private, but because the procedures of government are exactly different than the procedures of private, so these two projects, even though they look almost the same, but they should be taken as different projects. They should not be taken as operations, because they have the same kind of uh, requirement or the same kind of output. So unique output means that it must be unique in some way, not that it should be unique in each and every way. So two similar things are not same project. Two similar things may be two different projects, but yes, we will see that what is the exact difference between a project and operations. So here we try to see that what are the differences between projects and operations. Project, as you can see from this small picture as well, project is basically a new idea, something new. But in operation, you have one thing which is made once, and then you are just making copies of it. So project basically needs extensive planning. To start a project, you should ask a lot of questions, you get a lot of information. You cannot just start a project without thinking too much. Each project should start with a very detailed thinking process, very detailed planning process. But for operation, okay, for the first start, for the first time, for the first operation, You may need a very extensive planning, but once the first day has passed and you have done whatever you have to do, then the next day is the same. You don't need another planning. You don't need to do anything else. You already know that what to do and how to do it. So project needs a lot of planning, but operation is a daily activity. Once it has started, once you know how to do it, then you can do it and do it and do it again and again. So in project, you may have new tasks in every new project. Every new project should have something new which make it a kind of unique from the other project. But operations is repetitive. Once you did it, then you know how to do it. The change is very low, and the change has also a procedure. I mean, you know how to change something if you really need. So the project have unique outputs. Projects can give you outputs which are very much different from each other. However, operations have same output. It's exactly the same. You are just like I show you this stamp here. You have a stamp and then you are just making copies of it. So it will give you the same output. Every time you do it, it will give you the same output. But if you are doing projects, then maybe you are doing 5 projects and those all 5 projects are giving you exactly different outputs. They are really different projects from each other. And as we mentioned in the start, I mean, project should have a start and an end date, and both of them should be very well known to each other, to each person involved in the project. Project should be very well documented, and it should have very well documented start date and very well documented end date. You should know that how, when, and why this project should be ended. But in operations, yes, operation can also end someday. I mean, it's not like operation will run forever, but you don't have ending date from the start of the operations. Some operations, you know that these operations are for these many days. There are some reasons, but generally, if you are operating something, like for example, the bus commute, the bus system, the rail system, the airline system, no one will tell you that this airline will run for 2 years from now. It's operation, it's going on. It will be going on until there is a need and the passengers are there who are taking the flights, then you will run this operation forever. So that's why these kind of things which have these kind of characteristics, they are called operations. So a project has limited funds. Limited does not mean that they are limited in financial value or anything. Limited means that the funds have also a start date and end date. I mean, you have the fund and you know that this fund should be finished on this date and you have to spend it in these things. Operations also have limited funds. Operation don't have it. Does not mean operation have unlimited funds, but the funds are made available every time they are needed. I mean, for example, if operations is running on a yearly basis, then you provide the funds every year again and again. So the funds is for the lifespan of the operation. It's not like that you are having operation and you have a fund of only 5 years, because operations should be generating the income as well. So from the income that will get its own fund, how to run this all operations. And in project you have the changing procedures. If for example you are running 5 projects, maybe all 5 are having some different kind of procedures. You are not following a same procedure for all the projects, but operations, there are standard procedures. There are procedures. For example, if you are running an industry, there's a procedure to start the production, there's a procedure to run the production, and there is even a procedure to close the production for some time. For example, if your industry runs on a seasonal basis, so you know how to start the industry, how to start the factory, how to operate the factory, and how to run the factory. You have standard procedures for all of these cycles. But even though project also has some cycles, and we will discuss this in some other video, but there are no standard procedures to run each and every project. Sometimes you have to make your own procedures. If your project is not going through well, then you can ask the management, okay, I need to add these kind of procedures because my project is not going as per my understanding. So project is different from operations. Now, why we need project? Uh, because first we see what is a project. So if there is a project, then there should be a need for the project as well. So the PMBOK give us some kind of context that, for example, this picture, which is figure 1-2, which is on page 8 of PMBOK 6th edition. I have, using this picture, I have put these 6 reasons, and I've tried them to make on based on priority. The first need of a project in an organization is basically a regulatory need. If you have a regulatory need, maybe you have to stop all other projects and you have to run on this single project. Because if regulatory stops you or the legal stops you from working, then your whole industry will be shut down. So if you have a regulatory need, if you have a project which comes from regulatory, then it is the highest priority project. So you can say the first priority of projects are the regulatory projects. The second priority of projects are basically if the stakeholder or your business, they need something. For example, if there is something new coming, or if, for example, if your machines or your production has become so obsolete that the management knows that we cannot take the next order because our machines are now, they are on the end of their life. So if you have a business need or a stakeholder need, then this will become a project, and this project should be the second highest priority project for you. This can only be stopped if there is regulatory projects which comes above it because of any reason. So the second priority project are the stakeholder or business need projects. The third priority projects are the projects which are to improve or fix any product, process or service. For example, if you are running, again I go to industry, if you are running some industry and your machine, they got some kind of problem and now they are not working. So you need to fix the machines before you can do anything else. So this will become a very high priority project and you have to take this project so that you can carry on with whatever you were doing previously. So this can be a third level priority project or the third need to start a project. Then the most common need is the market demand. For example, you are doing any kind of business and you see that there is a market demand for some other thing, then maybe you will do a project and you will introduce that market demand or that product in your product line so that you can fulfill that market demand. So market demand is, you can say, because this will generate the money for your organization. So this is also very high value or very high priority project. The fifth reason, or which is the fifth priority as well as per my priorities of these projects, is the technological advancement. For example, if you are using some machines and you came to know that these machines are getting old and some new kind of machines are coming, then you may change, you may run a project and you can change your system. But this is, for example, this is not the high priority. If you have a market demand and you are doing something very urgent, then you will delay this project. But this is a good reason to start a new project. But this will be on the fifth priority. And the last priority, and these projects are sometimes done, sometimes they are postponed, are social need project. That if there is any social need, if you want to do anything which is related to the uplifting of the people or uplifting of your the people working for you or something like that, then you can run a project. But as per my understanding, as per my experience, these projects are generally not put on very high priority. But yes, these needs also create the need for a project. So we can say that these are the 6 kind of needs which can create a new project, which can initiate project in your organization. So hopefully this video should be beneficial for you. You should have learned from this video. Just for my introduction, my name is Abdul Aziz Khan. I'm a telecom engineer, PMP certified, and I have around 20 years of telecom experience. So based on my experience, I'm making some videos so that everyone can learn from my experience, and I can share whatever I have learned in my life. So if you have any question about this video, please feel free to contact me, comment on this video. I will inshallah reply to you as soon as possible. And you can also contact me on my email or on my LinkedIn. And please subscribe to my channel. Please share, comment, and like my videos. And hope to see you in some other video inshallah very soon. Assalamu alaikum.